Have you ever been in a relationship and had a moment where nothing is technically wrong, but your nervous system is absolutely convinced that something is? No fight, no breakup text, no real direct indicators, but maybe just a little bit more space than usual. And suddenly, one person in that relationship is thinking, I need room, I can't breathe, I'll deal with this later. While the other is thinking, if I don't fix this right now, I'm going to lose them. What makes this so brutal is that both people are right about their own experience and completely missing each other at the same time. For neurodivergent folks, the anxious avoidant cycle isn't a communication problem. It's a regulation problem. One nervous system calms through closeness, the other calms through distance. And when stress hits, those needs collide instead of cooperate. Hey, I'm Dr. Regina, Ph.D., and this is Divergent Paths, the podcast where we talk about what late-diagnosed neurodivergent folks actually experience and how to work with your brain instead of fighting against it. I also have a weekly newsletter, Nerd Notes, where I share more insights and tools to help you make your weirdness feel like home. The link to sign up is in the show description. In this episode, I'm going to talk about the anxious avoidant cycle and why this hits especially hard for neurodivergent folks. It's not to villainize either side, but to name what's actually happening underneath the behavior and why just communicate better is often the worst possible advice. The scenario that I opened this episode with, we have one partner in a relationship who pulls away in order to attempt to regulate their nervous system. And the other partner moves closer in order to regulate their nervous system. The more one partner withdraws, the more the other one pursues. The more the other one pursues, the more withdrawal the other partner feels is necessary. If this is resonating with you, welcome to my life. I have been in this cycle more often than I care to admit. I want to make sure to reframe some of this. This is not a competition between neediness and coldness. This is not one person caring more and the other person caring less. That's not what this is about at all. This is two nervous systems using oppositional survival strategies, right? Two nervous systems using oppositional survival strategies. So it's not even that it's like, I want necessarily to push this person away, or I want to chase after this person who is pushing me away. It's your nervous system trying to find a sense of safety in this relationship. This is the key component of this. The avoidant response is the distance makes them feel safe. And the anxious response is the connection creates safety. In this scenario, everybody just wants to feel safe. And there is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with seeking safety. And there's nothing wrong with how you learned to seek safety. Just in this moment and in this relationship, this is incompatible because the move away and the chase just creates this cycle of anxious and avoidant back and forth. For neurodivergent people, there are several factors that can intensify this cycle. Among the top ones are a sensory overload. When you need the withdrawal to calm your nervous system physically, you can't not withdraw. Like you have to do that because you just need to get out of the sensory overload. For a lot of people who are neurodivergent, emotional dysregulation has been their normal state. We have lived in a state of emotional dysregulation, especially people who are late diagnosed. Your feelings are more likely to spike quicker than other people's. Your emotional responses are likely to be a lot higher. There's a lot of sort of emotional depth that goes on to being neurodivergent. And so the dysregulation tends to be even deeper for that. As we've talked about, rejection sensitivity is something that almost everybody with late diagnosed neurodivergence experiences. And so for a lot of people, silence feels like rejection. If somebody is seeking to connect with you and you are unable or incapable to connect with them, that silence, that distance feels like another form of rejection. Masking fatigue is also something that can play into the anxious and avoidant cycle. You have less capacity to do things in a way that is helpful for your partner, especially if they are a different attachment style than you are. Delayed processing, clarity often comes in these situations after the fact and after you've either chased or after you've taken time away from the relationship and taken the space that you need. You'll get that processing through. And as we often come down to trauma, the trauma from being misunderstood as late diagnosed, from being corrected, from being told you're too much, you're too sensitive, you're too dramatic, you're too cold, you're too distant. All of that plays into this kind of cycle going back and forth. Neurodivergent avoidant folks often withdraw because their nervous system is just fried. It's not because they don't care, and it's not because they don't value the relationship. They just can't handle the inputs on their nervous system at the time. Anxious neurodivergent folk often pursue because uncertainty is unbearable. It's not because they lack boundaries, and it's not because they want to chase or they want to go after you. That uncertainty is just really grating. The overwhelm for both is coming from a place of fear, right? This back and forth creates a sense of fear for both types in this dynamic. What I want to do in this discussion is highlight this feedback loop. The avoidant pulls back, the anxious panics, the anxious reach out, the avoidant feels flooded. They both kind of go back and forth in this push-pull. Both people in this scenario feel misunderstood. Both people in this scenario feel unsafe. And they both feel like they're failing the relationship. That, I think, is one of the things we need to really hone in on in this discussion, because it's so easy to blame yourself for feeling like you're failing when what you're really doing is just acting out of what is normal and natural to you. Some ways that you can see this, there are gaps in texting, there are gaps in maybe returning phone calls. If you are activated on either side of this, you're more likely to misread someone's tone. And we all know that there are countless memes about how bad texting is as a medium for understanding tone and how people are talking to you. You're more likely to misread that if you're in this cycle and you're activated by the cycle. What ends up happening is if someone just forces and takes the space, by the time they're ready to talk, the other person is completely dysregulated or maybe feeling deeply resentful. There's a lot of sort of big emotions that end up coming in here. Here are a few things that aren't going to help this situation. Trying harder isn't really going to do anybody any good. Over-explaining what has happened, feeling like you need to justify or explain your actions on either side, avoidant or anxious. Trying to force closeness without repair, trying to force independence, and either one of those aren't really going to help in this situation. Having a perfect script of what you're going to say to the person you're having this dance with is also not going to help you feel any better if you're still dysregulated, even when you have the perfect thing ready to say. Your body cannot receive regulated communication when you're dysregulated and when your nervous system is dysregulated. So really one of the things that can really help in this is letting your partner know that you need space. Give a timeline if you can, and do your best to stick to that timeline. If you are anxious, offering reassurance without chasing. I'm here. I will be ready to talk when you are ready to talk, and being able to make the space for your partner to take that time away so that they can regulate. Make sure that when you do come back together, you're both in a regulated state and in a space where you can repair. Because like I said, your nervous system needs to feel safe for you to have grounded and clear communications. In this, come to an agreement about how you're going to handle this while you're regulated, not while you're in a cycle, but when you're outside of it and you have had time to sort of recognize and process. Take that plan and put it into place. The goals here aren't to stop needing space or to stop wanting connection. The goal is to learn how to make your connection less threatening to each other, that the person who needs the connection and the person who needs the space don't feel activated all the time and don't feel like they're not in a space where they're safe. Really want you to understand, if you're in the cycle and you have a relationship that falls in this does not mean that you are incompatible with the person you're in this cycle with. And it doesn't mean that anybody's doing anything wrong. It just means you both found different ways to survive and different ways to make yourself feel safe. And there's nothing wrong with either way. There's no good or bad in this. These are just the ways we learned how to take care of ourselves. So if you're stuck here, letting yourself accept that your nervous system is doing exactly what it has done to protect you for your whole life might be the most important thing you start to realize. There's nothing wrong with what has happened, and there's nothing wrong with this anxious and avoidant cycle, especially if you can step back from it and see it as the cycle and not as something the other person has done wrong on either side, right? This is exactly the kind of thing I help my clients understand, how this kind of interaction might be impacting their relationships, both romantic and friendship, and their relationships at work, their relationships with their boss. This is not about assigning blame to anybody in any of those circumstances. It's about building safety. So there's a link in the show notes to book a free 30-minute clarity call with me. And let's talk about it. Let's talk about the anxious avoidant dance and how we can change the dance floor.